It's a true story, all right? But I want you guys to really, I want to drive this home. So last night, when I was sitting on my little computer, I went on Orange County Clerk of Court website. I pulled from April to June. We're talking about what, two months time span? April, May, June, right? We're in June now of 2025. This is 100% current. Public record, by the way. There's nothing secret here. I didn't create an account, nothing like that. You go on my eClerk, you type in probate, right? And you're going to see a little list. You can pick the date range as well. So I picked the date range from April to June, and here you see 9 cases. Advent Health is named in one of those at least. I'll tell you that right now because I started looking. So the scenario I just played out likely is probably happening here. I'm not getting deep into those because I'm not a lawyer and whatever, but I tell you it's very likely that something like that's happening. So when these cases are created, all the assets are placed in that probate. And it was as simple as maybe just setting up a trust, listing beneficiaries on your bank account, right? Or on your old 401k. So I don't say this to, tell you guys how to look up court records. I'm telling you this is happening every single day. And this is just in Orange County right now. This is real life, okay? So families are being affected. And if we do a deeper dive, I'm sure you can start looking through and then you'll look up the ethnicity. And we could do a whole study on that, right? All right, so if the home was a homestead property and the deceased had surviving spouse or minor children in the state of Florida, Florida protects the house from creditors, but this doesn't apply if there's no immediate heirs that are living there, right? So homestead doesn't apply unless you're actually living in the house. So if this was a rental property, guess what? Probate. All right. It was an investment or a second property. That's what I just said there. Sorry about that. All right. If the house was placed in a revocable trust, it likely avoids probate and creditors cannot access it as easily. All right. So I kind of gave you guys a dark picture, right? Everyone's kind of sad. Now I'm going to lighten up the mood a little bit. What is a will? All right. The will is the last testament. A lot of people say, oh, well, there's so many parts to the will. No, there are different documents that you can do, and you include that in your will, right, or in your overall estate planning, like medical directives, and there's a slew of other ones, which go on eforms.com if you don't want to contact a lawyer. But the will is the legal document that distributes assets after death. That's when the will actually takes effect. Someone passes away, and that will, that document, is then their last testament. It can name guardians for minor children. It does require probate court approval. It becomes public record, and it can be contested easily. Here's a quick story. Let's say your uncle, who told you he was going to give you his house, didn't have a will. Or maybe you did have a will, right? He signed it. And he said, yeah, I'm going to give you the house. But 2 years ago, he was at a bar, and he was drinking. He was hanging out with his buddies. And he said, hey, I'll bet you my house I can make this shot in the bullseye. And he missed that bullseye. And he made a legal contractual agreement with someone that he was going to give them the house. They can go to court and file a claim with the court, 100%, and say, hey, judge, he told me he was going to give me that house. I have a napkin right here where he signed it. Guess what? That's evidence now. And the judge has to decide what's going to happen. Not you. Doesn't matter if you had a will, because guess what? This is also a will. So be careful with who you talk to and what people tell you. And any lawyer will tell you, even contracts that are made verbally are still contracts. And if there's enough evidence in the case, it can go one way or the other. All right, bank accounts and most retirement accounts are not protected in a will. There's a couple reasons for that. You must contact your financial institution and add a beneficiary. If you have a bank account, I just spoke with someone that had this scenario, okay? Grandpa passed away. He had a bank account, $40,000 in there. Not a huge amount of money. The beneficiaries that he had listed at one point were 2 nephews of his who passed away as well. Now, his spouse, his kind of new spouse, it wasn't an ex-spouse, is fighting to get those funds, right? But guess what? Now, other uncles and aunts came out of the woodwork as well and said, hey, we have a claim in that estate. So even his wife can't access that because she wasn't listed as a beneficiary on that bank account. They didn't have any other documents. They didn't have in their will, she didn't have a power of attorney. So there's a lot of little minute things that we don't even think about. I mean, you probably have 401ks and other bank accounts, and you probably don't have a beneficiary listed. It's that simple. You don't even need a will for that. You call up the bank and you give them, hey, I want my estate or my bank accounts, if something happens to me, to go to my son, my daughter, my wife. It's as simple as a phone call, right? All right, let's keep going here. All right, what is a trust? The trust is a legal entity. Anyone knows what businesses are? Entities, all right? This is very different than a will, than just a piece of paper. The trust is a legal entity that holds and manages assets. Oh, what does that mean? That means you are not personally liable for that item. Let's just say item, for that asset, for that house. Who's going to own the house? The trust, right? The Almirante estate owns that property. Not Milagros Almirante, the estate. Okay? Who's the beneficiary of that estate? Someone else. It can be you, it can be your brother, it can be your sister. So when Milagros, God forbid, or inevitably goes and meets Jesus, right? What's going to happen with that house? It doesn't have to go to probate. The court doesn't get to say, hey, this is what's going to happen with that property. No, no, Milagros decided what happens with that property. That's the power of the trust. So all the creditors say, Milagros owed us so much. Well, Milagros doesn't have that, okay? And that house is not Milagros's. That is part of this estate. All right. It completely avoids probate. There's some caveats, and when you sit with your lawyer, they'll kind of explain some things, all right? It remains private. So guess what? It's not going to be on my e-clerk on Orange County. Oh, this house over here, right, with a bunch of prying investors waiting for someone to snap, right? Effective immediately, even while alive. So you transfer this deed over now into this estate. It works right away into this new entity. And it can include rules for children and disabled heirs, etc. Again, if you have a plan in your head of what you really want to happen when inevitably you pass away, this is the right way to do it. You need to get a proper estate plan and build a trust. All right. Will versus trust, key differences. All right. Probate. The will, yes. Probate. Trust, no. All right. I'm going to keep this as simple as possible now. Privacy. The will is public. The trust, private. Is it effective? A will after death. The trust, immediately. If you're a business owner, you have an LLC. Why? Because you don't want to get sued, right? But even if you do get sued, what happens? Everyone heard of piercing the corporate veil? Maybe not? All right, let's keep going. But in the trust, your trust should control all those business assets as well, right? Because you can lose your house if you own a business and you get sued, but not if it's in the trust and if you layer your business properly. So this is a big deal, right? I think everyone here is a business owner right now. Something to think about. All right, covers incapacity. The will, no. Trust, yes. The cost, the will, a lot lower, upfront, super cheap, free almost, right? The trust, it's going to save you hundreds of thousands later. It's going to keep your family intact, and what you want to happen is going to happen if you do this the right way.